Imagine the most important person in your life is kidnapped by your arch nemesis. What lengths would you go to save them? I'm Space Admiral Candace.
I'm Space Cadet Shane, second class.
You are listening to Sci Fi Book Pod. Today we're chatting about Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. Our visiting dignitary once again is runner, podcaster, and Leigh Bardugo superfan, Julianna Coughlin. Welcome,
Hello.
Julianna.
I'm very excited to be here. I am indeed a Leigh Bardugo super fan, and I'm also very anxiously awaiting my copy of the Six of Crows short stories that it should be delivered to my mailbox today as we are speaking. So very, very much so waiting for that.
So it's
I
Christmas.
I
It's pretty
am
much.
I'm an Outlander fan. A fan of that series of books, Outlander, and I have consumed every single one of the short stories that go along with the novels. So I
Mhm.
completely understand where you're coming from with the short stories because they add an extra layer of understanding to the characters.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting too because Leigh Bardugo actually has never written any short stories that are related to any of her series before. Like she's an author. She's done little one-offs and things like that, but she's actually never written any novellas or short stories or anything up until this point. So it's going to be interesting hearing some more continuations of the stories of the characters that are in Cricket Kingdom, and also what that's even like because I don't really know what it's going to be like. I'm sure it's going to be great.
I'm sure that authors make a choice when they're writing their long novels to leave parts of the story out because they just don't work with the story arc. And then what do you do with them? Right?
Yeah,
What do you do with those pieces? So I like this whole concept.
yeah.
Anyway, we talked about Six of Crows, which is the prequel to Crooked Kingdom,
Hmm.
previously with you. And Shane and I needed closure on the story because Six of Crows ended with a cliffhanger.
Hmm.
I will link to our discussion about Six of Crows in the show notes. So we are here today. It was actually our choice to read the book, and we asked you to talk to us about it. So
Hmm.
normally at this point, I would ask you why you chose this book, but you didn't. We kind of chose
Nope.
it all together. So why did we need to read this book?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it perfectly, well, is that there's a huge cliffhanger at the end of Six of Crows. And especially if you are someone who, you can read, like we talked about with Six of Crows, you can read it by itself and you can read these two books by themselves, but they are within the context of the greater Grishaverse books. And I would say, if you've read the first three books plus Six of Crows, or if you've just read Six of Crows, you kind of want to know what happens in the next book and the next story. And I guess my question to you guys is, when you finish this book, do you now want to read the next two books that come after it? Because this book kind of leaves you not with, I don't feel as big of a cliffhanger as the first book, but there are two other books that come after this that I feel are also really great books. But I don't know if you guys have any desire to read the further books after this, or you're just like, nope, this is enough. This was good.
I wanted to read there's a book before both of these, right?
Yeah, there's
Uh,
3 books before both of these. So
yeah,
it's the Shadow and Bone series, so
that's
Shadow and Bone.
so yeah, I was trying to download that from the library and I realized, oh, it was a Kindle, not an audio, and I go, well, I can't use that. So
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person who goes to the magazine in the back or goes to the book in the back and
Mhm.
starts there. And then I work my way to the front for some I mean, that's just most of the time, that's how I usually look at things. And so I have that same feeling as that basically, okay, all right, now I know the characters and this, that, and the other thing. What's the first books? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I didn't know there was another two books after this one.
Oh, yeah. So
How many are in the whole series?
there is 7. So there's the first 3, which are
Okay,
the Shadow and Bone series, and then there's the Six of Crows duology, which comes directly after that, and then there's the Rule of Wolves and King of Scars, which are the next, duology that comes after that. But I will say, if you are gonna read Rule of Wolves and King of Scars, you do have to read Shadow and Bone to understand what's going on. Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, you can read by themselves, and you'll be
right.
perfectly fine if you just read them in their own isolation, you know? But
Right.
if you do want to read the two that come after this, it is paramount that you read the other books because you will be very lost if you do not know the other characters that get introduced like straight out the gate. Because
Uh-huh.
you've had like in this book you meet the two main characters. So there's Nikolai and Zoya Nozelinski, who are the two main characters in the next duology. So there's like a little hint and sprinkling of them in the Six of Crows books, but
Uh-huh.
like you'll really have no concept of them unless you read the first three books. So I would say, yeah, go back, do your regular thing of like going back to the start after you got halfway to the finish, and
Right.
then then bring it into the finish line from there.
I feel like I have closure on the story
Okay.
and I don't need to read the rest. Not saying that I never will. I'm just saying that I feel like these two stories together wrapped up a nice little package for me and I'm very satisfied. Although I'm not happy with the way it ended. But I'm really happy with the story arc. Like, I feel like I got a complete picture. You know, sometimes they make an extra season or two of a TV show and they don't have to.
Yeah.
But from what you're explaining, like the next two books in the series don't really continue this story arc. They tell a different story.
Kind of.
So,
It is
yeah.
a continuation. Like you get a lot of like Nina and you get a lot of Hanne in the next coming books too. So it definitely is like a continuation, but as someone who's not like you guys aren't invested in the characters from from Shadow and Bone yet because you really haven't met most of them. So you have like no investment in
I did have
like
an
the other
investment in
characters.
a character in these two stories that had a fantastic hero arc, and I'm very disappointed with what happened to him.
Which one
Matthias.
was that?
Matthias.
Yeah.
Matthias
Oh.
was my favorite character from the stories.
Really?
Because
I feel like that's a controversial opinion, to be honest. There are very few people that I've met who are like into these books like hardcore, who like Matthias is their favorite character. There's nothing wrong with like everyone has their favorite crow, you know? But like I don't feel like I've met many people who have said that, which is like, and I've talked to a lot of people who are part of this fandom, you know?
I
So there's
am
nothing wrong with that.
I'm a fan of redemption stories, and he has a redemption story. I mean, he was indoctrinated in a thought process, and he learned that what he was taught his entire life was not true, and he did something about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say when I read these books, I read the first book and then somehow like you know how your Instagram feed starts feeding you like things that are related to your searches and stuff like that. I got fed a piece of fan art that had him as a ghost in it and I was like, "Oh no." And so I read this book knowing that he passed away, but I didn't know when and where and how. Um
Total
and
spoiler alert.
yeah. I mean, we're probably
Yeah.
gonna talk about spoilers here, like, we're
Yeah,
talking about
of
the book,
course.
so,
Yeah.
it is what it is. But I still cried when he died, like, I knew it was coming, and I still cried because I was like, "That's so sad." Because obviously, it is, like, life-altering for Nina, though I do like her story arc with Hanne, and I like that they get together at the end, and having, like, a transgender character in this book that I think that's really wonderful and like really, really love Hanne as a character. But it is definitely sad to see Matthias to see Matthias die and like kind of just very suddenly, you know, like you don't see it coming, I feel like, and all of a sudden he's just like dead because they just kill him in an alley essentially.
Yeah,
Well, this whole podcast is a spoiler. You
that's
can't you
true.
can't
Pretty
you
much.
can't talk about the book without having spoilers.
That's true. So listener, we hope that you have read the story already and you're listening to the podcast so that you can have your ideas either
Pro or for.
pro against your
Okay, we gotta help the Admiral out because she is still a little hazy from her what, 4 or 5 weeks of illness.
it's 3.
That's
It's been it was
Ugh,
3. It was 3 solid
mine was
weeks of
like
being really sick. Yeah.
yeah.
ugh, yeah.
So, okay, but I really did enjoy these books and
Mm.
yeah, so I don't mind being one of those strange people who likes the character nobody else likes.
I feel like the other characters just have so much more like polarizing features about them. Like Kaz is obviously someone who like has a lot of like distinct characteristics and Inej too. And I feel like each of the other characters just is besides maybe Wylan, has just like a little bit more of like a polarization to them when it comes to having like very distinct characteristics that are like very unique to them. And not that Matthias isn't unique, but he is like a character that we've kind of met in like other stories, like the person who is just like indoctrinated and then like learns a lesson and then turns around into a better person. Whereas I've not really read too many other stories that have like Kaz Breckers or Inez's in them, or even like Nina's, like these are very like, or like Jespers, like those four I feel like are like distinctly unique. Whereas I feel like Wylan and Matthias are a little bit more, shall we say, like vanilla when it comes to some of their
Right.
characteristics. So like
Well,
they,
when did okay, so Wyland showed up in the first book.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then
Is that the first time he shows up, period?
yeah. So the Six of Crows book is the first time in any of the books where you meet Kaz, Wylan, Inej, Matthias, and Jesper. And who's the other person? Am I missing someone? Uh Kaz, Inej, Jesper, Wylan, Matthias, Nina. Okay, there we go.
All right.
Yeah. All six of them only show up in the first Six of Crows book. And then you do get more of them in the two books that follow this as well, too.
Okay, so basically every character is kind of like a misfit toy.
Essentially, yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
They all kind of like somehow, like they don't seem like they're gonna work well together, but somehow it does.
I mean, it's kind of like Star Wars, Firefly, and so
Mhm,
on. You get a bunch of misfit toys, and
mhm,
they all have somewhat characters, and they all have different attributes they bring
mhm.
to the sandbox kind of thing,
Yeah,
and they're all weird.
yeah,
And then somewhat you as a reader, you're going to tie yourself to either one or two of them.
yeah,
Okay, other weirdness, or
yeah,
their oddness. Let's just say, or misfitness. Okay,
yeah,
and so you could say that basically, Matthias was more, like you said, was more vanilla, and As's Wyan was more vanilla. But the thing is that both of them come from, well, Wyan has basically come from a privilege area,
oh yeah,
and
Wylan, yeah,
and Matthias actually comes from like a very structured society, hard
yeah,
society. Okay,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Kind of like
you could almost
Nazi-esque in a way.
you could almost say a religious society, really. I mean, like you said, it's just a real
Mhm,
doctrine, a very doctrine society. Okay,
mhm, yeah,
and you can say Wyland actually comes from that same doctrine society as well, but it's a business society. It's basically a billionaire society,
yeah,
and 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 so in that society, if you think about it, on those both of those, you got to be perfect.
mhm,
All right. You can't have any flaws. And if you have flaws, all right, you either got to hide them, all right, or it's the other person's fault.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's whatever the enemy is, it's the fault. I mean, he tried to kill his own son, I don't know how many times.
a lot.
All
Yeah,
right.
he tries to
But
kill Wylan
but
a lot.
do you think Wyland represents, you think Wyland represents the dyslexia? I'm dyslexic as hell, and I got
Same.
zero help in school,
Yeah,
and they didn't even
same.
know what and they didn't even know what it was. Okay. And I couldn't read half the time. So I
Mhm,
kinda like, I've really, Wyland's kinda like my guy besides Jasper, all
mhm.
right? And then it goes to, the lead guy, all right?
Kaz.
Cass. And
Mhm,
so Kaz kind of reminds me of more of my mischievous or lying and cheating days of Saginaw, Michigan. And Wyland reminds me more of my high school or school days. All right.
mhm,
Trying to get through. All right. Trying to, trying, because basically Wyland was hiding or not basically advertising or not, or is ashamed. Kaz was right about that. He's spot on because because he was talked to Wyland. He says, it's shame. It's shame that
mhm,
throws you down. Okay. And
mhm.
she was spot on when she wrote that. Right. So
Yeah.
in a sense, all these characters, the misfit is what they have to deal with because of Wyland's vanilla and Matthias's vanilla societies putting shame on them. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, no, that
Eh,
makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
yeah.
and I
So everybody who reads these books, especially because it's young for young readers, and old, but young readers mostly. It's kind of like a Harry Potter thing, but it's actually, on my opinion, is that basically it's more relatable. If that makes
Yeah.
sense,
Yeah, no, I
right?
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I agree too that I feel like everyone can find something in these characters are diverse enough, like collectively, they all have like different things going on. When it comes to like learning challenges, like the way that they think, they're like gender orientation, sexual orientation. There's just like a lot of like variety here. And I feel like Lee does a really good job of really like representing a lot of different communities
Right,
in these characters, like you said, you have Wyland who has like raging dyslexia. Jesper also has some other format of like dyslexia and ADHD as well too. And then you have like people with like Kaz is like definitely has challenges like speaking with people and things like that. And then you have like Matthias who is just very like generic in a lot of ways, but like has to deal with that like perfectionism side of society. And then you have like the sexual orientation of things. Like you have Jesper who's like bisexual, and you have Nina who's bisexual, and then you have Kaz who's like largely asexual, you know. And then you just have like all these different like ethnicities that are kind of represented as well
right,
too between the characters. So I feel like every person can probably identify with like multiple characteristics from each of the different characters and like just get I guess where you fall on like the gender sexual learning developmental spectrum of all the things like kind of
right.
dictates as to who you might identify with in the given moment too because there's just a lot going on.
So when Matthias died, I can't remember this. So I mean, I was
He's
sick as
killed by
well.
that like random soldier guy who's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like
Which is but which is basically it's is it. So he was telling the random soldier that he was a young kid, right?
yeah, it was like some like 18 like 16 or 17-year-old kid. It was
And he
someone
told me, he says, "You don't have to do this. It was
yeah.
you've
Yeah, they're
been
like in a back
brainwashed."
alley.
Yeah, and he goes, "I was once like you."
Mhm.
And this reminds me so much of, I keep on bringing this up lately because it does apply so much, that, I met a woman who basically escaped uh, the wall, the communist
Berlin
wall.
Wall?
Yeah.
The Berlin Wall?
The Berlin Wall. Well, actually, the Iron Curtain kind of thing. It wasn't the wall
Okay.
itself. Basically, her family escaped from Czechoslovakia or something like that, and they
Okay.
literally had. This is like 5 years before the wall came down, and she was telling me they literally had to sneak over. It was
Yeah.
scary, and she was telling me what a good communist was, and what I because I was curious. I said, well, what is? I mean, what are they? What is you know, um, what's what's a good communist? I mean, what are they
Yeah.
trying to do? And she told me, as she told me all this stuff, which remind me a lot of Matthias.
Mhm.
But when she was done, I said to myself, "Holy crap, we got the same thing over here, except instead of being a good communist, you have to be successful and rich and this and that's put
Mhm.
onto you at a very young age. We see success as having money, so which goes to Wyland in a way, right?"
Yeah.
And the thing is that those how society pushes, you know, which these writers all take these characters who are flawed and misfits. And the thing is, those flaws and those misfits, or those specifically those flaws, become their superpower.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's that society, via communist, via Matthias, via billionaire market, whatever. All right, pushes back on that, all right? Their superpower. But it's that superpower that gets them out of that kind of thing. And that's why I like that part where basically where were they? Where Kaz was telling Wyland about a shame. Is don't let that get at. I mean, it was you gotta use that. He says you gotta use that.
Can't remember
Um
exactly when that where that scene happens, to
was
be
it
honest
they were in
honest.
his dad's office, wasn't it? Breaking into the safe?
Probably, I genuinely can't remember exactly where that line happens.
I like how Kaz does that too. I like how he goes, "You knew my mom was alive, didn't you?"
Mhm.
And he goes, "Yeah." You know? And this thing about Kaz is that he never tells them, he shows them, or he has them walk into the experience.
He never
Because
he also never, like, tells a lie. He always just tells,
that's
like
right.
he's a big fan of just omitting the truth. Like, he'll tell you something, and it's not a lie, but he's not really telling you what's happening because you'll ask him one question, and he'll be like, "Well, we'll see," or he'll tell you something else that is true, but is definitely not answering the question that you asked for.
Right. Right.
So I just finished reading this book by Seth Godin, and it's not a new book. It's been around for a while. It's called "We Are All Weird: The Myth of Mass and the End of Compliance."
Okay.
And it's a marketing book because Seth Godin writes marketing books. But basically the premise of the story is that for the longest time, the media we always marketed to the same people. Like everybody watched the Super Bowl, everybody watched the same TV shows because there was mass media only had a certain thing, and so everyone was the same.
Mhm.
And because there's so many options now to watch TV, watch, YouTube, Netflix, podcast. I mean, there's 3 million podcasts. There's so
Yeah.
many ways to consume different content that marketing to the mass is no longer appealing. And
Mhm.
when I read this book, I read a story about people I know. I mean,
Mhm.
I've always surrounded myself with weird people because I like weird. I've always liked weird better than normal. And
Yeah,
so,
same.
I mean, maybe that's why Matthias was my favorite character because I didn't know a lot of Matthiases because I hung out with the other folks, right? and
Mhm.
I maybe had an idea about people like Matthias that they couldn't redeem themselves. Or maybe actually when I was actually I know why I like Matthias because he reminds me a lot of Hans. Hans is a man that I knew when I was 19, 20. He
Mhm.
was in his 60s. He had been a German Nazi soldier, and
Wow.
he had become one of the kindest, most generous, gracious men. I mean, I learned so much from this man. I was 19 when I met him, so I absorbed as much as I could from his lessons. But he had that redeeming arc. He had been a Nazi soldier, and he turned into this pillar of the community that he lived in, that we both lived in, right? And I saw Matthias on that same arc. And I think that the because I have this affection for Hans, I had an affection for Matthias.
I feel like that makes a lot of sense. That's a pretty interesting person to be friends with for sure. Like, sounds like someone I would wanna talk to too. I'm assuming he's
Well, see,
way
there you
Yeah.
go.
I am
I was talking to the communist.
Yeah.
so no.
I
Something
mean,
that's
this is
right.
this is the thing about these books that are really good, especially on these, is that it allows you. It allows you to because this is they're in the dark side of town, basically. you know,
Mhm.
they're in the rough side of town, and they're trying to defeat the rich overlord or whatever,
Yeah.
Wayne's dad kind of thing. Because he's mean, because he's basically kidnapped uh, Gaz's girl, all right?
Yeah. Inej.
And they're
Yeah.
gonna go save the prince. They're gonna go save the princess from Darth Vader, kind of thing. So these stories are not really new, but they are. It's basically it's kind of like um it's a character book, and it's how you write your characters. um, and they sh I know this for a fact because when I paint or whatever, that the characters take their own they will take their own individual, persona and personality, okay?
Mhm.
And that's what you fall in love with, is the characters, right?
Mhm.
We've all I mean, this is no spoiler, is that, like I just explained this book, how they're gonna go save the princess, you know, from the evil Darth Vader and the Emperor.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it's the stage, it's the setting, it's the characters, and I mean, how many Shakespearean plays are basically of misfits, going to go save
A
the
lot.
princess kind of thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's only so many stories that are out there kind of thing. I
Mhm.
think Candace, you mentioned to me once that I think there's 5. Basically, save the princess, save yourself, you against nature, you against God, so
Oh,
on
the
and so on and so.
universal literary
Mhm.
themes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Man versus himself, man versus God, man versus everybody else,
exactly.
yeah.
Well, the thing is that on these, when you can combine a lot of those stories into like what she has, that really kind of flares up the book. All right.
Mhm.
So you just don't have, them go and save the princess. You have, Wyland dealing with his demons. You have Jasper dealing with his demons, especially on that gambling thing, which with old Jasper thing, how that all developed of why he's
Yeah.
doing that,
Mhm.
you know,
And the
is
storyline with his dad too.
well, he was doing it as a therapy. He was basically gambling because it would relieve his guilt
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
thing.
Jasper also has like raging ADHD, and like a lot of ADHD humans are very susceptible to any kind of like gambling thing too. And
Right.
so, like, I mean, Jesper is like, if you were to look up the definition of ADHD, his face should be underneath that dictionary entry, because he is
Right.
just like all over the place, always looking for the next shiny coin, literally and
Right.
figuratively, and
Well,
just constantly chasing a dopamine hit.
when I love that part when they argued with each other, arguing with each
Mhm.
other, and Kaz accidentally said his brother's name instead of Jasper.
Yeah.
Right. He is just, and everybody goes, "Who the hell's Josh?" Is that his brother's name, Josh or something like that?
Jordy.
Jordy. He goes, they all go, "Who's Jordy?" you
Yeah,
know,
well, because Kaz has never
and
told them about Jordy either, because
no,
Kaz is, like, such a closed book that they're
right,
like, we're learning about Kaz's background and all the other characters too, because of the way Leigh
right.
writes this. You, like, get a little vignette as part of, like, all these different things that are happening, getting some background information on each of the characters. I think she does it really well. Honestly, I've read other books where it doesn't happen as seamlessly as this, and you're like, "What the
I
heck is
know.
going on?"
So have I. So have I.
Yeah.
It's actually becomes very sloppy.
Yeah, 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 and I
She,
feel like
she
she does a great job with this one.
she does a lot of breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
She doesn't overdo it. She doesn't underdo it. She
Mhm.
she seems to give you the morsel, finish the morsel a little bit, but leave a little
Mhm.
bit off.
Yeah.
And so that way you're kind of satisfied, but you're still curious at the same time.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
her character development is flawless
Yeah.
because her characters are pretty stereotypical of there's the stereotypical dyslexia kid. There's the
Mhm.
stereotypical ADHD kid. There's I
Mhm.
mean, I'm gonna just say Cass has autism. There's the stereotypical autistic kid,
I think he
you know,
does, yeah.
you know, but they're not really stereotypical. There's so much depth to their character. And like
Yeah.
I said before with the we are a weird, just because you put a diagnosis on somebody doesn't mean that they're exactly like everybody else. As a cancer
Mm.
patient, people like, "Oh, well, I have breast cancer too." No, you don't have the same breast cancer as me. There's 350 different kinds of breast cancer or
Yeah.
more. We're
Mhm.
going to have different experiences. I can't tell you what you're going to experience because
right,
what I experienced isn't going to be the same
right.
as what you experience. And that, I mean, her character development is so brilliant. I mean, it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I may be a super fan too. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm
Yeah.
not going to read other books. I'm just saying I had closure with these two.
Yeah.
like I said, the Matthias character, um, just reminds me. I mean, he's just, he's not the best. I mean, let's put it this way: I knew what he was when he showed up. Okay,
Mhm.
and so okay, remember, he's kind of like a reformed stormtrooper in a
Yeah,
way,
a little bit, yeah.
and he has experience. He may be young, but he has more experience. The wolf thing
Mm.
just threw me for a little bit.
Yeah,
They had
his
to have a
wolf.
wolf. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and, like,
Um.
how he comes back and finds Nina
Uh
and
huh.
everything.
Yeah. And it's just it's yeah. It's just and the thing is, I think is even in like Harry Potter and the rest of them,
Mhm.
they try. We live in a society. We always have, though. We've always lived because we're a tribal society. We're a tribal species. The only way we survive is by groups. Because if not, we get eaten by lions. Right.
Essentially, yeah.
So basically, the tribe leader or the tribe society has to create some kind of rules or something like that to keep this thing together. All right. If not, there are going to be too many people straying off the teepees in different directions and getting eaten by lions. All right.
Mhm.
But the thing is, there's always going to be one or two in your tribe that wants to scamper off. Okay. And usually they want to scamper off because they have these misfit tools. They have these misfit abilities, right? It doesn't, they're, and the thing is, are they really disabilities? I thought about this for a while because I was kind of, are they just
Mhm.
disabilities or are these glitches in our genome or in our DNA that pushes us out so somebody goes over the mountain kind of thing? You see
Mm.
what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
somebody has to defeat Darth Vader. And the only thing
Yeah.
that's going to defeat a Darth Vader, all right, is another Darth Vader misfit kind of thing. How did Kaz, he developed the whole ending plan to get rid of him, all right?
Yeah.
He lied. Well, I don't need lie. He borrowed, cheat, and steal. It wasn't. What was it? What was the main guys? The Secret Order. He
The Crow Club? Are you talking about the Dime Lions? Are you talking about
the
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 waterbending people that,
are
no
you talking about
or the
the
religion.
Puritans?
no remember they were in. They had
Oh, is no,
they
go
were
ahead, go ahead.
yeah they were auctioning off. What the heck's this name? They were
They're
auction. He was going.
auctioning
They were
they're
Uh,
auctioning off Wylan, essentially.
no, it wasn't.
And
Was it Wyland?
there's
No, it was the other guy.
No, it was the guy who developed
oh,
the
yeah, Yo Bone, what's his name? Joe Bone, whatever his name is. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, because they end up doing like because Wylan is kind of transformed into this guy, whatever his name is.
Something like that. And
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and
yeah.
and then
They do the switcheroo
Kaz.
and stuff at the end and
Yeah,
stuff too.
and then
That's why I was
Kaz.
thinking they were off off Wylan because they actually end up doing like the switcheroo and it's like, okay,
Right.
well, that was not who they think they are. Um, are you talking about so there's
The
Ravka, there was Fjorda, there was the Tide Makers, which are
Tide Makers, I think. The Secret Order people
they're the ones
are
that live out in the bay and they control the tide and they rush in at the end and like it's not really the Tide Makers, it was the Fjordans. No, the Puritans, the Ravkin, some of the Grisha from Ravka
yeah.
pretending to be the Tide
That's it.
Makers.
That's it. That's it.
Okay, we figured it
Yeah.
out. Julianna
Yeah,
was
yeah,
able to
yeah,
talk
yeah,
it
yeah.
through.
But you see how Kaz did that though. He fooled them.
Yeah, yeah, and that's like Kaz's big like again,
Yeah.
he's a show don't tell type of person, and he also is like, I feel like when I read these books, even now when I reread them, I'm just like, one, this would never happen in real life. There's no way this could all happen so seamlessly with like all the chaos that's happening around it. But the way that it happens and his plans, they make sense in the after effects. Like you wouldn't think I wouldn't think of them personally. My brain is not that complex, I guess. Um, when it comes to like planning out a plan, but then like you learn what happened after the fact, usually with a Kaz plan, and you're like, oh, that makes a ton of sense. And also, how was he so clever? And also, again, like the probability of that working out in real life is
Right.
like extremely
Right.
freaking low.
Can I just point out that I did say the waterbender people like 5 minutes ago?
Candace did say the
Oh, is that
waterbender
what they were?
people 5 minutes
The
ago.
people?
The
She
Tide
did.
Makers.
She did.
Okay, well, there you go.
I thought you were
I
going
don't
for
know.
something else,
There's
Jane,
there.
because she had already said that.
We're
That's
watching.
fine.
I'm watching Airbender at the same time, so you know.
It was there. Candace said it. We'll give her credit.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. Okay,
but
so
that's what basically I think this is what the story I think is attractive is that you have misfits. Well, you have
Mhm,
you have Misfit Island. The characters Misfit
mhm.
Island defeating the bad reindeer and putting the
Yeah,
star on the top. And
yeah,
and
yeah, for the
and
most part.
and the thing is, it's only the misfits that can do this.
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
why We Are All Weird is such a
Yeah.
prescient book. I'll link to it in the show notes. I just really
yeah.
think that 20 years from now, we're gonna be in a different place than we are now, and the
Mhm.
weird people are gonna be the ones that are making things. The weird people are already the ones that are making things happen. We live in a society today where there are some outlier weird people who are now billionaires and trillionaires, and they did it by becoming evil. But you don't
Uh,
have to be weird and evil. You can be weird and wonderful,
mhm,
right? So,
like Willy Wonka, even though he's debatably evil too, but.
yeah. Yeah, see, that's the thing. That's the thing. What
Uh,
was the name of that book that we read in a previous episode that was kind of like the precursor to all sci-fi books ever written, where there was the benevolent AI that came in and solved hunger and
oh,
war.
I can't remember
Yeah,
that one.
I'll link it in the show notes.
That's scary.
But the thing is, he got this AI got rid of war, got rid of hunger, got rid of everything.
Mhm,
But really, is that really benevolence or is that manipulation?
mm.
Is it really benevolence? I don't,
Yeah.
you
Well, I
know?
mean, conflict is part of being like a living creature,
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
there's no way to remove like conflict. There's no way to remove like unless we all like go on really, really high levels of antidepressants and we're all just kind of like shells of ourselves where we're just existing in a neutral state of being at all given points in time because of medication. There's like no way that we would ever be able to like have a conflict free, even if it's just like minor conflicts, like conflict free society. It's
Yeah.
just not possible, especially
Well,
like
well, I don't think, I don't honestly, I don't think, it is, it's so funny how you mentioned that is because I was actually thinking about this when this book is, because they're always about the money, right? And, I mean,
yeah,
they're trying to get the payday,
the Church of
okay?
Commerce.
And the
The
same thing with, like, Firefly, it's always about the payday, you know?
mhm. Mhm.
Um, and as you read these and you may as you, get into these stories and they end up, like, not really getting the payday, but they save the world kind of thing kind of
Mhm.
thing. And you kinda and for me, I'm kinda like, "Alright, so this," as I'm older, I'm, like, 58, I'm going, "Is this humans? Is this just humans? Is
Yeah.
this just,"
Yeah.
is this our makeup? And we're not, because everybody thinks that basically is, "Oh, if we just do this and then all the world will be fine. Oh, we do
Yeah.
this, now everything will be fine." I mean,
Yeah.
even the freaking psycho freaking billionaire in their AI shit, right? If
Yeah.
we just do this, the world will be
Everything
fine.
we got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, no, it won't be because that's not the species we are.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
species we are is to basically, as soon as something becomes even close to being fine, we wanna
We
break it,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
know?
this feels like similar to a conversation I was having with my best friend from high school who just got broken up with for their boyfriend. And also very related if you guys have seen the musical Company, it's a great musical, but essentially it's about this woman who like thinks that getting married will solve all her problems and then you hear the backstories of all the other couples that are part of this musical and then she realizes she's like, "Oh, I can be single or in a relationship, but I'm gonna have, like, different versions of problems based on, like, who is in my life." And
Right.
this is the conversation I had with my best friend from high school. I'm like, "Lydia, like, you can get married, but getting married doesn't solve your problems. It changes the type of problems that you're dealing with. Instead of, like, you deciding what you want for dinner and then, like, going to bed, like, you and your partner then have to decide what you want for dinner and then decide when you wanna go to bed.
Right.
It just changes the context and the type of problems you're dealing with, and, like, I feel like a lot of the times in society, we have those, like, kind of black and white thoughts where we're like, "Oh, if
Right.
X happens and I get Y result, then
Right.
there will be no more problems in my life." And that's like never going to be the case. Like, even if you do like achieve said whatever said goal is, whether it's like for me, like running a big marathon or like someone getting married or like having a baby, like
Right.
it's not gonna solve like, maybe it'll solve one problem because then you've, like, completed the goal of whatever that said thing is, but then
Right.
it just presents you with a different set of problems that, like, you then have to
Yeah.
deal with, and that's just kind of the ethos,
Well,
I think, of being a human. It's just, like, you're
yeah.
constantly gonna have
Yeah.
challenges to deal with regardless of what the context is.
Yeah, because that's that's just how it is.
Yeah, that's being a
And
person, being
and
alive.
I think the snake oil is basically is that them selling you on this magic pill that you're
Mhm,
gonna be happy all the time, nonstop, 100%.
mhm.
Okay? That you're not gonna have a problem or basically you can just sit there and do nothing and just,
Be
get
fine.
up. The point of these books sometimes is that these are almost inspirational books for people who do want to have adventures. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, in other words, I wanna be this Jasper guy, all right? Or I wanna be this guy.
Mhm.
And when you have flaws, all right, and you have a society that says, "Well, you can't do anything because you have this flaw, you're a defect, and this, that, and the other thing." It is that flaw, it's that defect that will
Mhm.
give you the adventure, you know? And so like Nina's and this and that, it's a real and the thing is that they're all looking for that goal, that pile of gold they never get.
Yeah, never comes.
It never comes. It never comes. And I'm thinking, I'm going, is that part of it too? Is that like, is that how it works too? Because
Mhm,
what happens is that you meet people on the way, and those people are more important than your goal,
mhm.
kind of thing.
Yeah,
And I think that's what people get wrapped in. And that's why I said the lady who told me about communism. And I said, well, hell, that's the same thing as basically here, but our success is basically we're supposed to have a pot of gold.
yeah.
Okay. All right. And so I don't think that pot of gold exists for somebody who basically wants to have misfit toys around him, because the misfit people are more important than that pot of gold. They always will be. They
But
always
yeah,
will be.
I think it comes back to that like quote. It's not like it's the friends you meet along the way, whatever that quote is, where it's like, and like, I mean, a big thing that I focus on when I'm like running and stuff too is it's the adventure. It's not the end goal that you're getting towards, because like it one timeline wise, it takes up way more of your time to do the adventuring part of it and like than it is
Right.
to like achieve the goal. So just like logistically speaking, when it comes to the time you spent on something, like that's going to be the bulk of your time at a baseline. And two, like that should be the part you're trying to enjoy, as opposed to just like making sure, like, oh, I make X amount of money, I do X, Y, and things. It's like, I mean, I worked in elderly care for a very long time, like 9.5 years essentially, and like I never heard a single person being like, "Wow, I should have made more money." But like when they're like on their deathbed, but, like, a lot of people were like, "Oh, I wish I had spent more time with, like, X, Y, and Z a person, or doing, like, X, Y, and Z a thing." And it's
Hmm.
the experiences, like, spending time with those people or spending time with that experience or that process or, like, that, like, just the way you're getting towards a goal, like,
Right.
that's really the important part of life is, like, the doing, not the getting. And
That's what
I
that's when basically when Kaz called him his brother's name. All right.
Mhm. Yeah, Jordy.
Yeah. Kaz was so, let's put it this way. Kaz's whole focus or his whole being was about revenge.
Yeah, for his brother with Pekka
But he
Rollins.
did, but it just it hit him that my freaking brother's right freaking there.
Mhm. Yeah, he's been carrying with him the whole time, like, the
Yeah,
presence of him. Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
and he
know,
doesn't actually need
Jasper,
to.
yeah, Jasper's my brother. He's the guy. He's the
Yeah.
one,
Mhm.
right? Because he
Mhm.
wouldn't have called him his brother unless they knew it was his brother,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And that's why he walked out. It's like, holy crap, what the hell happened?
Yeah, he's like, "Oh,
You
I
know?
had a come to Jesus moment here."
Yeah, exactly,
Uh-huh.
exactly,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
anyway, that's go ahead.
It is time to put a wrap on this conversation about Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. Thank you, Juliana, for introducing this story to us. I mean, I could not stop listening to this story. I couldn't, I
Good
couldn't,
book.
I couldn't hit pause. I mean, I lost 2 days of my life, but I
I
didn't because I thoroughly enjoyed the story.
I was gonna say, I don't feel like reading Crooked Kingdom and Six of Crows is a loss to anyone, to
No,
be honest.
mm-mm,
Like, unless
no,
you just don't like good literature, then that's on you. But,
yeah. I feel like we need to have some sort of rating system where, how many spaceships do you give this book?
I mean, I give this book like a 10 out of 10 spaceships, honestly, but that's just me personally. And like, I mean, I like Six of Crows better than I like Crook and Kingdom. That is my personal preference. But they're both like really great books. And I think that Leigh Bardugo is a great author. And I also think too, if you guys liked this and you do end up reading the rest of the books and you're still looking for more, like Ninth House, which the third book in Ninth House is coming out soon. She also has like a fully adult series that she does too, which is
Wow.
very exciting. So her adult series is very adult. Like if there's a trigger warning that you're worried about, it is in this first book. Like it is like a very highly triggering book, but it is very, very, very dark and very, very, very good. But yeah, this is her like YA flagship series, and then she has that for adult.
That's a wrap on our conversation about Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. If you enjoyed this conversation, please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. All of that feedback is really appreciated. We do read our comments, so please do leave a comment. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or Good Pods, please do leave a rating and review. We would really much appreciate that. I've been Space Admiral Candace.
Space Cadet Shane, second class.
I don't know what my title was, but like I'm Julianna and I'm on the ship somewhere.
And
A stowaway! We have a stowaway!
and you
The
have
Stormtrooper
been
Julianna.
and you have been listening to Sci Fi Book Pod.